And reporting on action taken in closed session. Closed session agenda item, student waiver, item 4.2, motioned by Trustee Velasquez, seconded by Trustee Kiff, and carried unanimously by roll call vote to accept finding of facts for the student waiver. We had 3 yeas, 2 noes, 2 absent.
And we do have one adjustment to the agenda tonight. We are going to move the reports item to be right before the break, immediately following item 11.2E, and then we'll take the break.
And please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sorry, you said we're going to do this first, okay? Okay, moving on to celebrating our success. 8.1 Healdsburg High School Digital Media Music and Memory Project at the Healdsburg Senior Living Center.
Good evening. So as you know, we like to open all of our board meetings with celebration of success or talking about some innovation that we have in the district. And we have 2 tonight, and I just want to commend these 2 teachers for being here tonight with a packed house. And I'm happy that they are going to be able to celebrate their success in front of colleagues. So the first is John Chevalier, longtime high school teacher, and an amazing project that he has brought our students and our community. So we've got a nice video. He's going to open it up here. Thanks so much for being here tonight, John.
Not yet, unless you want me to sing, and that's not good. Thank you for just having me here tonight. I want to give you a little bit of background before we see the video. About 6 years ago, you may be familiar with a movie called Alive Inside, and it's about how music affects the memories, especially with dementia and Alzheimer's patients. That's okay. That's okay. She just likes the music. Sorry, squirrel. Thank you. Anyway, I had a chance to have the director in my classroom, and we showed the movie to my advanced class, and the idea was to evaluate a documentary and, be able to talk with the filmmaker, and it was a really good thing. Well, fast forward several years, I found out that Healdsburg Senior Living Community was actually doing something with music and memory. So I met with them over there, wanting to bring my students over just to do some filming and do a story on what they are doing over there. And as I met with one of the directors, Tony Fisher, who has since become a very good friend, he kept talking about bringing my whole class over there, and I'm talking about doing a documentary. And we kind of went back and forth, and I said, well, what would it hurt to give it a shot? And we were part of an academy. We had our AM/FM academy for a while, and we were looking at how music affects people. And we study that in film class. How does music affect our emotions in film and things like that? So we started to go over, we train our students, and for the last 4 years, I've been bringing a group of students over there to work with the memory care patients. And now we can roll the video, and I'll introduce you to Tony.
The senior industry as a whole is, it's about taking care of people that are aging and need to be in a more supportive environment. But what happens sometimes is that they become isolated within the community. It's like that building over there that takes care of old people. So the partnership that we have with the Healdsburg High School is really important because the students that come from John Chevalier's class are students that are working with our most advanced stage dementia residents.
It was my first time, and I thought it was really cool. It was really nice, just felt like I was like touching someone's heart, you know, just getting close. I mean, I didn't know them at first, obviously, just someone brand new, but I got to meet them and got to just make them happy and have someone to talk to.
So these are people that are very far along in the aging and the phase of their dementia. So having young people connect with them is really important because they have very little contact with the outside world, the outside community. Families start coming less, friends start coming less because they don't know how to deal with how dementia presents itself. So when we go into the school, we put the kids through an Alzheimer's simulation. We Skype in the director for the film Alive Inside. He challenges them in this project, and they come and they connect with our residents that really, I say, are kind of forgotten in society. And it's a real beautiful thing to see how quickly a young person can connect with a person with Alzheimer's and dementia. It seems to be very natural for this ability to connect.
So when I first arrived, I was kind of afraid that my person wouldn't talk as much or that they weren't comfortable around me, and that's sort of what happened in the beginning. But as we started talking and as I began asking him questions, I noticed he got comfortable and he began opening up to me.
Each one of these partnerships is critical to the well-being for our residents, and I think what it teaches young people about life and aging and the journey of what dementia looks like. Because someday they're going to be dealing with their parents and their grandparents, and if they don't have this experience, how are they going to know how to deal with these issues? So this becomes a place of communal learning. Not only is it curriculum-based, but they're learning about life and aging and just, you know, what this journey looks like. And I think that's a very valuable thing that we get to be able to teach in this setting. I feel this is really important because when I started working with this program, I thought this was about aging seniors, and it is, but I say this light is slowly fading and going out. But we have this bright light of the youth and the energy that they have, and they have all this incredible talent and all these incredible gifts, and they're not always sure how to kind of hone in on that. And in a classroom setting, there's some competition that goes on. And in this setting, there's no competition. You know, I don't know who's the straight A student. I don't know who's the bullied kid. I don't know who is the jock, or, you know, who's the person in drama. Because when people come in here, everyone's equal. Everyone is participating, they're all engaging, and they're helping to create a template that is going to be duplicated so we can have more young people connecting with more elders. We want this to go beyond Healdsburg. This is the petri dish here. This is where we've been experimenting. And you know, when you have 13 schools involved, the experiment is over, as we say. I mean, this is working. And so this is really important because we want this to create a movement. So it's really a part of creating a change in our culture. It's bigger than just a young person connecting with an old person. It's about creating a movement of change in our culture that I think can repair a lot that's broken in our society.
You'll never be happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Don't take my sunshine away.
When we started this, I knew that we would have some type of maybe a helping environment to reach or connect with older dementia patients. What I didn't know is how it was going to affect our students. To be honest with you, I didn't give that a lot of thought. And to watch them go over there and just connect, and it's totally separate. They're no longer in the classroom, and they're little human beings, and to see humanity touch humanity is this really awesome thing. So I keep looking back, because I had arranged for a couple of students to come here tonight, but Oh, there you are. Okay, hey, you made it. So if you have any questions, that's why I brought her. So,
Mr. Chevalier, I just want to say publicly thank you for advocating for this. When you came to us 4 years ago with this idea, we thought, well, we'll give it a whirl. And you have continued to advocate, bringing the students, getting the funds for the bus, making time, helping the kids figure out how to do this. It has been, I think, as you said, it started as this will be an interesting filming opportunity. And I think it has changed not only the patients' lives, but your life and our kids' lives. And I just want to thank you for continuing to advocate for this program.
sure. We're good?
Just want to thank you. That was
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
And, that can't be replicated in a classroom. And so, this is our community. We are, you're using the whole community to educate our students. And what a beautiful experience. Just want to thank you.
No problem. That's what it is. It's a beautiful experience. Thank you.
So do you go every week or every once
We
a
go,
month?
we go once a month.
Once a
I'm,
month?
I'm going to say right now, because I'm talking to them over there, it's worked so well. This year, we didn't have a class. So we're pulling students out of miscellaneous classes to do this, which is not totally working as well as we like. So I asked them last year if they needed more visits, and they said, yeah. And I said, well, I'll bring all of our classes over here. And so that's what we're looking for next year. And a side note, Michael from Alive Inside has said he wants to see all of our video footage because he's looking at doing an Alive Inside 2.
Oh, wow.
And he had us get photo releases on all of our students because we may be using a lot of the footage that we're filming over there for the new movie. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming. Is there anything you want to share about your
Maybe
experience?
tell us what you've learned from it, gotten out of it.
I may be a little tear-jerky right now because you said that video wasn't going to make me cry. So, yes, it is my third year doing this. So at first, it was like really, really intimidating because it was something that I never done before. So the more I did it, the more I felt like I have a connection with these people. Sorry. A connection that I thought that I could never have because these people, they don't have anybody. And I give them that hope that there's somebody waiting for them to like walk them down a path that they wish somebody would walk them down with. I really, really care for these people. I care for anyone that like needs help. So when I did this the second year, I was like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something different. And this year, I'm hoping that it will be a change. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Okay, 8.2, Healdsburg Junior High School Spanish Program.
So another, hi, perfect. Appears out of nowhere. Another passion project here tonight, celebrating really a transformation that's been happening over the last couple of years with our secondary Spanish program. So tonight we welcome Cynthia Guig and Andrew Weiss. Cynthia is our Spanish teacher at Healdsburg Junior High School, and Andrew Weiss, her collaborating partner at the high school, who is the department chairperson. We have a wonderful thing going on in our Spanish language program in the secondary schools now, and largely on the backs, the brains, the hard work of these two amazing individual teachers who have spent countless hours of their own time working, collaborating during the summer, in the evenings, on the weekends, working with other people, both inside and outside of our community. I can't be more proud of these two young teachers and what they're doing for our community to help more of our students be bilingual. I'm going to let Principal Miller here say a few words, and then Cynthia's got a nice presentation for us tonight.
Well, I don't have much more to say. Miss Fender stole my thunder a little bit here, but I am proud that we have collaboration and alignment with our Spanish programs between the high school and the junior high school. And I will again echo her sentiments that it's all because of the two fantastic educators that we have and the rest of the foreign language department at Healdsburg High School, working very closely together. And we hope to continue to expand the Spanish program at Healdsburg Junior High School. So, Cynthia.
Hello. Miss Ruiz is over here, but we think that you all know her pretty well, so so I'm going to speak for us. So before upgrading to a language teacher, I started out as a mere language nerd. In my teens, I loved to study concrete grammar, geeked out on sentence construction, sat in years of confusion trying to understand the abstract, while simultaneously basking in the intrigue of all things lost in translation. As many teachers do, I got into teaching to share this passion. In my 6 years teaching Spanish, however, I learned that not all students have the same innate passion to study language simply for the joy of it. I found myself struggling to transfer my love of language to my students. No matter how passionately I presented the material using a textbook and grammar translation method, it, well, didn't always translate. It wasn't until undergoing a complete overhaul in curriculum, pacing, teaching style, and principles based on our new world language standards that this year, that passion, excitement, and engagement I so yearned for in the past is now ever present in my classroom. My Spanish classes are alive. They're beaming with energy, engagement, and constant curiosity. Andrea and I have transformed our classrooms into separate worlds for students. A class set apart from lunch and history and most of the drama. Passports are stamped at the door, and upon entering, our students are transported through language. They constantly take risks, succeeding one moment and utterly tripping over their tongue the next. They laugh about it and then try again. It's a safe space to practice a skill that in its core feels very vulnerable to adults and children alike. One cool moment for me this year was during a Christmas commercial madness lesson. In December, we watched various Christmas commercials from all different Spanish-speaking countries and did a sort of March Madness bracket voting system and ended up with our class favorite. In this particular lesson, we looked at different screenshots of the commercial and discussed what we saw using the phrase, yo veo, I see, yo veo. I see snow, I see a Christmas tree, I see many students. And we completed the lesson and moved on. And the next day in class, something was happening outside that was apparently more interesting than what I was presenting. And an incredibly language-resistant student looked, pointed, and said, ha ha ha, yo veo, and finished the sentence in English. I got him. I got him so good, I tricked him into learning. That was the moment where I thought, this is working. So, how do we do that? By using authentic resources, creative, engaging activities and content, and questioning students in a way that could accessibly present itself in the real world. So Andrea and I have created this path to proficiency. We're encouraging all students to take Spanish in 7th grade so they can be adequately prepared for AP at high school. We're placement testing all 8th graders with a writing piece and a 2-on-1 interview, I guess. We share that. And interview them to hear their skills as well, because some things don't translate. Some students are shy speaking, but write better. The New World language standards are not textbook or grammar translation based, rather focused on authentic resources, comprehensible input with the goal of speaking 90% of class in the target language, and the ability to use language practically in a real-world situation. Because of all this, as you've heard, the Spanish departments at the junior high and the high school collaborated to create a Spanish 1 curriculum transparent to the community, tailored to our students, and in addition to building a dynamic classroom experience. This course, along with the Spanish 2 course developed by high school teachers Andrea Ruiz and Carla Forchini, were recently approved by the UC system, meaning it's A to G. This whole experience was the beginning of a beautiful relationship between the Spanish departments at HJH and HHS. We continue to collaborate on a regular basis, sharing resources, ideas, and ensuring that our courses are vertically and horizontally aligned. I've spoken about authentic resources, and we use these to create globally competent students. That's another one of our big goals. We want our students to recognize products, practices, and perspectives of Spanish-speaking countries. And there are authentic resources, including but not limited to novels, comparing similarities and differences in culture, such as private school versus public school here in a Spanish-speaking country, report cards. What do the schools look like? What subjects do other Spanish-speaking countries take? What electives do they have? And what do these things say about their cultural values, right? Cultural celebrations and holidays, again, what does it mean to them? Why do they celebrate this way? Is it a religious value? Is it a familial value? Who are these people? It's just in a real way. We also include music videos, vloggers, Spanish-speaking vloggers, and tweets from Spanish-speaking countries. My students just started writing letters to students in Mexico today. I was able to connect with a teacher in Mexico who I met at the Racias method training at Dartmouth last summer. Thank you to everyone who allowed us to go. And I messaged on Facebook and said, hey, my students, this, let's do it. So they started their first drafts today, and it's really cool. I'm like, you better do it. You don't want every other student to get a letter and then one can't respond. You know, everyone else is writing and writing and writing. So it's a real world application. We're shopping at a Mexican market this spring. We're planning, Andrea and Carla, first and foremost, are planning a trip to Spain in 2021. The list goes on, and Andrea is also continuing to develop expertise in this work, as she was recently chosen to be a fellow, I like that word, fellow, in the California Global Education Project. She's working, woohoo, yes, get it, girl. She's working with 12 other educators from Northern California to bring global competence to all subject areas. Again, this is a short list, and we're just having so much fun doing it. Quickly, in terms of professional development, as I mentioned, Andrea and I both attended Dartmouth College I attended last summer, and she was the one before, and it was absolutely life-changing. Every new teaching principle we discussed while developing our curriculum was in this training. We were students in there, so we could feel how it felt to be a student. We are constantly engaged, it revamped our joy in teaching, and we felt excitement and anticipation to build this kind of classroom for our students. Andrea was also able to attend the summer seminar at UC Santa Barbara, which focused on the world language standards. In April, Andrea, Carla, and I are going to the Southwest Conference on Language Teaching. We're really excited to go to these seminars and share information with each other and meet new teachers who have the same passion. And not to mention, hear the raving reviews after our very own Carla Forchini presents on authentic audio in world language classrooms. It's very exciting. Andrea and I also hope one of our little goals we talked about was to present in a conference in the coming year. So you're teaching Spanish 1. That's our title, our working title. And if you know anything about this girl, she sure makes things happen. I'm so grateful for you. All right. So I would say we put our blood, sweat, and tears into prepping for this school year, but that makes it sound like it was painful. This has been nothing but joy, from our own path of understanding proficiency to learning activities and strategies which allow us to demonstrate language in a fun yet authentic and practical manner, to the thrill of puzzle piecing these into a lesson plan and finally delivering these lessons in a way that when we wind up for the pitch, students are just as prepared and eager to hit a home run every day. This response is what keeps us coming back for more, and we've never been happier to be language instructors. Thank you to the district and the board for providing us opportunities to truly change our students' relationship to, future with, and love of language. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia, I just want to thank you. I know it's been a long journey to where you've gotten, and I hear from a number of your junior high students, and they love your class and they love Spanish. You're not exaggerating. So thanks for all you've done and the hard work to get there. And Andrea, you too. You've been a dynamo that has really changed the face of language at Healdsburg High and now the district. So thank you very much.
You should have said that in Spanish.
Sería mejor. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. And we have 3 minutes per person, so I'm just going to read our
Just the ones on non-agenda. Oh, okay.
so this is
Yeah.
the script. So we welcome you to today's meeting of the Healdsburg Unified School District Board of Trustees. The public can ask questions relevant to agenda items at the time those items are under consideration. We would appreciate it if you would identify yourself with your name when addressing the board. Directions for public participation at board meetings are described on the back of the public comment card located in the basket in the back. 3 minutes, there's a clock right here, and so green means you are good to go still, yellow means you have 30 seconds left, and red means your time is up.
And I will interject, we have 14 people to make public comment on non-agenda items, so we're going to really need to stick to the 3 minutes.
Okay. Members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Your request to address the board will be heard at the time the item is being discussed. In accordance with Board Policy 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to address the board for a maximum of 20 minutes on each subject matter. Legal reference Ed Code or Government Code Section 5495.4.3A. Sorry, that was a long one. Whenever somebody publicly initiates specific complaints or charges against an employee, the board president shall inform the complainant publicly that in order to preserve the ability of the board to legally consider the complaints or charges in any subsequent evaluation of the employee, it is the policy of the board to hear such complaints or charges in closed session. This means that in order for any conversation or action to be taken on a complaint, the district's complaint policy 1312.1 must be followed. If the complaint falls under the realm of a collective bargaining and union relations with the district, it is the expectation of the board that the grievance procedure in either the HADA or CSCA contract be followed before the issue is brought to the attention of the board. And with that said, we will move on to public comment.
All right, so they're all here.
So our first speaker will be Chris Vanden Heuvel.
And if it pleases the board, I'd like to stay up here to make my comment, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming today and commend you for standing up for and with our teachers. We want to let the teachers know that are here and those of you that stand with them that teachers are the very heart of our mission. They are here. They're the ones who educate our children and help them realize their potential. And we're very grateful for the work they do. So thank you again for being here. I also I want you to know, teachers and community members, that you've been heard. I want you to hear that loud and clear. I think because of some of the demonstration today, the walkout that happened with students, there's a feeling perhaps that we're not listening or we're not hearing, and I can tell you that's not the case. You are heard. You're absolutely welcome to be here tonight. Members of the public always are welcome to be at board meetings. But I want you to know that prior to your presence here tonight, you had been heard. The board and I, in fact, over the past few weeks have been working diligently on a plan to hopefully achieve what we would like to do for our teachers in terms of pay. And that involves a plan to make our teachers among the top pay in the county. It will take us some time to get there, but that is our goal. And I have good news. We received notification just last week that we will be receiving $500,000, just in excess of $500,000, to help us be able to replace the money that we spent on fire cleanup. For those of you who didn't know, we spent $647,000 to clean up after the fires that we obviously had not anticipated. Insurance has changed in Sonoma County. It wasn't covered. So that was a budgetary restraint that now we have 85% of it coming back from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. So that's great news, and it liberates funds that we can set aside for other uses in the budget, and we're excited to go back to the negotiating table with that news. So we do intend to go back to the negotiations process next week with the goal of creating a plan to get our teachers amongst the highest paid in Sonoma County. And to help us move as quickly and prudently as possible, I've contracted with an outside firm just to leave no stone unturned to take a look at our budget. Is there something we're not seeing? Can we free up more funds to be able to make a difference in terms of teacher pay? So while I can't offer specifics regarding what we're going to come back to the table with, I do want you to know that we're working on it and we're moving in the right direction. And I want teachers to know that we know you guys are the heart of this district. We are grateful for the amazing work that you do with our children. We just had an amazing display of how teachers not only are educating, but touching the very hearts of our kids. And we're very grateful for that. And we also recognize that Sonoma County is an incredibly expensive place, and it's hard to make a living in any vocation, let alone with the low teacher pay that we have and is prevalent in the state and the county. We want to pay to attract and retain the best, and we think we have the best, and we want to pay you commensurately. And this is what our community expects for our schools and our kids. So I'm glad you're here. Please stay. Please speak. You're gonna, obviously.
Time.
Thank you. But teachers, you're our highest priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we have Noel Adams.
Noel was.
I'm here tonight to support the teachers, and I just have a few comments to say. And maybe Chris has already repeated a few that I had in mind, and I'll repeat them again. Chris, I remember when you ascended to the field of administration that you hired my wife to train you.
Yeah, she hired me.
To train you to make sure you did the graduation at Windsor High School properly. And I think you have mentioned it. I think you and key members of the board need to go back to school and hire somebody to help you do budgeting and do planning, because this is very important. Because if you screw up like they did in Santa Rosa for how many $1 million, that's very serious. And so I don't have too much else to say other than I was very embarrassed about the whole incident in the paper last spring regarding the teacher at the junior high school that was retiring. That puts a brown spot, should I say black or green, whatever, on the district. Teachers work very hard. I'm here tonight also because when I ascended, the last time I was to a board meeting, when I was my last meeting at a board meeting here in the district. And I remember some of the board members confronting me as I walked up to be on the board. Judy, you were one of them. You were a teacher in the line protesting the salary at that time, which was the district had money, but they were hiding it under contingencies and other little scenarios. And they did have the money. So I just am reminding people of that. So I appreciate you for listening to my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Noel.
Next, we have Karen Reynolds.
Good evening. I'm Karen Reynolds, and I have been a teacher in the district for 32 years. I am also the chief negotiator for the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association. We have heard from our superintendent for the past 3 years that he wants us to be the highest paid teachers in the county. In fact, he stated it publicly in this room during the October board meeting. Honor your word. Teachers are a student's most important resource. We've done our homework. We know the money is there, and you do too. Work with us to fund the best education possible for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Next, we have Jackson Boaz.
Good evening, board. My name is Jackson Boaz. I'm the freshman class president at Healdsburg High School. Today at 10 a.m., what we estimate to be over 150 students walked out of their classes at both Healdsburg High School and the Healdsburg Junior High. We walked almost 2 miles, proudly displaying homemade signs and chanting in support of our teachers. There are even a few students that went so far as to be here in the audience tonight. These actions were not the result of being prompted by the union or a secret suggestion by a teacher. They were the result of a bunch of students realizing a problem and taking action to ensure that it is addressed. Students organized this, students marched, and students will keep fighting for our teachers until the district decides to provide them with the wages and benefits they so greatly deserve. To tell you the truth, I'm scared. Scared that the fantastic teachers I'm so privileged to have will be gone in a matter of years, even months. Scared that quality teachers will be driven away from the district because of the horrid conditions teachers must endure here. Scared that teachers might not make it to school in time because they can only afford to live multiple cities away. I think that I represent the view of most, if not all, HUSD students when I say this. It is essential that the school board take immediate and decisive action to ensure that teachers in the district are paid a livable wage. To year after year have a budget surplus while our teachers are granted almost inexistent raises is simply atrocious. Every single day, teachers stand up for their students. Today, we decided to stand up for them, and it's about time you did the same.
Thank you, Jackson. Next, we have Emily Pyle. She's coming.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Emily Pyle, and I'm the freshman class vice president at the Healdsburg High School. I have attended all four schools in our small district. I'm not here tonight to speak of our teachers' pay injustices, though if I could, I would. However, I'm here to tell everyone of how much of an impact my teachers have had on me in these past 10 years of education. It's been hard for me to think of what to say because there are so many incredible things that I could say about each one of my teachers. They have not only given me knowledge, but they've also given me life-enriching lessons and even characteristics that are part of who I am today. I remember in elementary school, I would always be out in recess, and every time the bell rang, I would look forward to going back into my teachers' rooms. Elementary school is one of the most important times of a student's life because it's when they are becoming who they are. They're making a lot of incredible memories with childhood friends, and they're learning how to read, how to do basic math, and just learning how to be a person. And I remember in junior high, one of my first memories was walking into the leadership room where Miss Bingham was my teacher, and she said, "Here is an article on Robert's Rules of Orders, and you have a quiz on it in 3 days." And I was like, oh my God, this is going to affect my entire educational career. No, it didn't. But I remember freaking out about it a lot. And Miss Bingham is a teacher that has taught me to be myself and how to speak publicly. I remember before junior high, I wouldn't have been able to stand up here and even say a word probably. And I'm really grateful for that and for her. And going into high school, I have met so many incredible teachers that are all so different, but so important to me. Mr. Natelli, for one, I've had him for 4 years already, and I'm going to have him for another 3. And I'm so incredibly excited for that because he is a teacher that has always said, be yourself, don't let anyone stop you. And he's just always wanted us to have fun. And Mr. Cunningham, he has also done the same. Our teachers care about us so incredibly much, and they just want us to grow up to be happy and successful people, whether success means having the most money or having a successful family. And so I also remember last year, Mr. Costa, a beloved teacher, standing up here asking what a world-class teacher looked like. And I immediately thought that
Sorry, you're out of time.
we already have those world-class teachers. They are some of the best that there could ever be. And I just thought everyone needed to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Ever Flores.
This will serve as my HADA report. My name is Ever Flores, and I have worked as a school counselor in Healdsburg for approximately 20 years of my life. Currently, I serve as president of the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association, HADA, the local CTA-NEA affiliate union, which represents all educators of the Healdsburg Unified School District. At our last union contract covered 3 years. School years 2017-18, 18-19, and 19-20. We agreed to a 0% increase for 17-18, and for a 3% last year, and a 3.5% for this school year. So our average raise equaled only 2.16% per year, well below the inflation rate, which for the Bay Area alone in 2018 was 4.5%. We agreed to this meager deal because we were told the district had little to no money to provide raises. We even made concessions. Yet, when the accounting for the 2017-18 school year became public, we found that HUSD had underestimated its income by 12.5%. And get this, that equals to $2.7 million of taxpayer money. Incredibly, the next school year, 18-19, followed a similar pattern, with HUSD again lowballing its projected income by 13% this time around, or $3,050,916. It is in this context of HUSD hiding millions and millions of dollars from educators, parents, and the community that we enter this current negotiation. Healdsburg educators filed notice to HUSD in an August 29, 2019 letter that intended to seek improvements in the learning conditions of our students and in the wages and working conditions of our members. In response, HUSD said that could not meet for several months so they could prepare for this negotiation. Sounds simple enough. The negotiators met in November 2019, December 2019, and again in January 2020, each for a full year of negotiations. Educators argue at each session for additional counselors and nurses, especially for our elementary school age kids. We also argue that our wages were a little bit too low, and we wanted to enjoy the benefits that our neighboring Windsor Unified School Districts enjoys in terms of benefits. Not until January of 2020 did HUSD come prepared to negotiate economic matters. To make things worse, we were not given the district finances, which we filed 6 months prior to our negotiations, until the day of negotiations. That is completely unacceptable and disrespectful to our teachers and our negotiating bargaining units. I want to finish now. I'm tempted to say that There has been an inexplicable amount of money being spent in outside consultants and lawyers from 1 year to the next. It increased to $1.8 million. And I'm tempted to draw a comparison to the grand jury report about Oakland Unified, where the grand jury accused the board, which you are ultimately responsible for this, for lacking a sense of urgency in dealing with its budget and spending 3 times over the state average in the services and operating expenses, which, by the way, you are very close to the same target. I urge the board to direct its management team to stop lowballing, playing games with the livelihood of our students, its teachers, its educators, and come back to the table with a serious, non-degrading, non-insulting proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Sophia O'Gorman. Sophia O'Gorman.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Sophia O'Gorman, and although I hold no leadership position at HHS, I was still at the march today and care deeply for my teachers all the same. I haven't been in the Unified School District for that long because I went to elementary and middle school at the Healdsburg School, but I still fell in love with all of my teachers in high school. I love them all because they help me learn differently, because they help me one-on-one, and that really helps me because I don't learn the same as most people, because I like people more than I like writing and reading. So they really help me in that place, and I really like them for that. And most of them can't even afford to live in this town, even though they educate this town's youth, and I find that completely absurd. And if we lose them, I'm not sure that anyone can take their place, not just in the school for educational purposes, but also in the hearts of all of my fellow students, because we all care for them very deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia.
Ali Alcocer.
Good evening. My name is Ali Alcocer. I'm a negotiator for HADA, but most importantly, I'm a Healdsburg alum. So I got married 10 years ago, and it was absolutely heartbreaking when my husband told me he was going to have to drag me back to Santa Rosa. I didn't want to go to Santa Rosa. I'm a 4th-generation Healdsburger, and I absolutely love this community. So when I found my calling to become a teacher, I was beyond delighted to work for Healdsburg Unified. As I look around this room, I am just so thrilled to see people that really inspired me to do life. Pat Sabo, John Linker, Mike Ephraim. These people believed in me and really taught me to become myself. My colleagues continue to teach me every day. We push each other. We inspire our students, and I was so excited that the district felt that I was going to do that for my students as well. I hope I inspire them 1/10 the amount that my teachers inspired me, and I hope I make a difference. But I'm also a mom, and I really struggle with the fact that I have to weigh being a mom and put my son in daycare, or be there for my students, who sometimes look at me as a second mom. Unfortunately, daycare costs and my teacher's salary net to almost zero. I wouldn't be able to live in Sonoma County if I didn't have a dual income. My husband's also a firefighter, so I know that dual income can be taken away in a second. Teaching is not a 9-to-5 job. We take our jobs home with us, and I do feel that it is incredibly heartbreaking and shameful that the district doesn't value me and my fellow colleagues as much as I value this beautiful little town and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Lillian Fonseca. Lily? Uh-huh. Hi, Lily.
Well, I'm here to support my colleagues, even though I'm retired, and I want to share a little story, but let me give a little background first. As a retired HADA member, I know that teachers who are respected, supported, and heard by their administrators and administration will be able to more than provide for the needs of our community students. Teachers deserve to be paid a living wage, have benefits that will provide for their families' health needs, and work in an environment that values them. As a teacher at Foss Creek in 2004, I had the pleasure of working under the principalship of Araceli. A few months into the school year, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Araceli was right there for me, fully supporting and comforting me. My fellow teachers rallied around me, not only at my site, but from all sites. The HUSD familia, I needed their support. Meals were provided. They came and cleaned my yard for me. Money was gathered so I could go get a second opinion. I couldn't have done it without that support. I feel like now, with all the divisiveness that's existing and all the problems that are ongoing, it's kind of destroying that familia, that sense of harmony, that unity that we all need to have. Administrators, teachers, community, families, parents. Anyway, after a year of intensive treatment, Araceli just said, you go, you do what you have to do, you don't worry about anything. I never went back and saw my students. I had to just leave them. But they were in the hands of a counselor that we had at the elementary school, and she took good care of them. Our elementary schools need counselors. Now, I was able to return to my classroom disease-free after a year, thanks to my school family, thanks to you, Araceli. And I just want to say that now, our teachers now need to feel the same connection, the same level of support to be the best that they can be. We need unity among all of us, all the parties involved. Please support your teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily.
Claudia Carpenter. Claudia Carpenter.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Claudia Carpenter. I am a 5th grade student at Fitch Mountain campus. My concern is the teachers lacking salary. I absolutely adore my teacher, Mrs. Polanini. I feel it's very important for students to get a great education. Every teacher brightens a light in every student's mind. I think it's so kind of them for being the best they can be with every class they have. They fully deserve everything they have and more. Thank you.
Thank
you, Claudia.
Next, we have Mandy Carpenter. Hi.
It's going to be a tough one to follow. Mandy Carpenter, Claudia's mom, and Allie's also. We have a 2nd grader and a 5th grader. And tonight, obviously, I'm here in support of our teachers. I want to talk about support in a couple different ways. One, of course, is their salary and benefits, but also we need to support them within the classroom as well. And what I mean by that is I find that as a district, we do not have discipline specifically marked on our website. And I know that there's different reasons and philosophies behind that. I also see other districts where it's pretty clear and parents, paraprofessionals, and teachers know boundaries and what's to expect. In the eyes of our children currently in the 2nd grade class, erratic, physically threatening behavior looks to be rewarded. The children
Mandy,
get to leave.
You'll get your time, but I want to just ask you, it's not the practice of the board to talk about specific individual students. We want to maintain highly confidential.
Understandable. I'm talking
yeah,
about a classroom
okay.
in general, but thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I
Thank
do
you. Just guard
appreciate
against
that.
that. It's not fair to the students.
Oh, no, of course. What I also know is that in some cases, when we use the inclusion of students coming into classrooms, it raises them to the occasion. And in many ways, we can see that. But also sometimes it lowers the ability of the students to learn and feel like they have a physically safe environment upon which they can learn. There's a lot of physical behavior happening in a classroom, and there's a threat of physical, emotional, and intellectual behavior. Things are not happening there. Paraprofessionals are not trained in this part of their job. So they need, in my opinion, they need more training, and we need to show that normalizing abuse within a classroom isn't accepted. It's not accepted in my family, and I can't, under my best intentions, send my child every day to wish her the best day. I know that you've also heard me on a different light, more personally on this, and I also have heard that some have said that it hasn't been brought to their attention. And I do want to say that I personally, along with many others, are not looking for the answer of we're working on it. So, and that safety is of the highest priority. It needs to happen. So it needs to be past tense where we have worked on it and we're going towards a different light. Teachers not only deserve a living wage, but they deserve respect within their classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Mitchell.
Good evening. My name is Mark Mitchell, and I'm the union rep for the teachers of Healdsburg. And I'm very honored to work with their great leadership, President Ever Flores and Vice President Marcelo Fernandez. And I want to let you know that teachers are angry. They're angrier than I've ever seen here in this district. I've been here for 3 years working with the teachers, and we have a great community of educators here. They really love the district and the community, and I'm very saddened to see the state of things, and I hope we can move towards a solution. But one of the reasons, perhaps the biggest reason they're angry, is because we found out what money has been coming in above and beyond what the district has projected in its annual budgets, which have often formed the basis for negotiations and other discussions with teachers. Yesterday, we received the finances back to 14-15 of the district as filed with the County Office of Education in the state, and what we found was shocking. In 14-15, in that school year, the district received $4,386,000 above and beyond what it projected it would receive and what it told the community and the teachers it would receive. The next year, in 15-16, that amount was not surpassed, but almost met with an overage of $3,508,000 in excess revenue beyond what was projected. In 16-17, $2,876,000 beyond what was projected was received by the district. In 17-18, which I believe is the year that the teachers took the 0% increase, we saw $2,723,000 come in above and beyond what was projected. And last year, 18-19, $3,050,000 in excess revenue. In the first interim that was released by the district to us the day of negotiations, in January, we found that the district this year is on track at $1.7 million already in October, above and beyond what it projected to receive in revenue. If we add all that up, it's $18,245,000 that has been hidden from teachers, from the community, and kept away from students. And the reason that we get educational funding is to spend today's dollars on today's students and their teachers. And what's been happening in Healdsburg Unified needs to change. We need to spend the money on students today and their educators and the other costs of education to make this a great district for students to learn and for teachers to teach. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Lyon. Will Lyon. Oh, there you are, Will. Hi. Hello.
Hello, hello, members of the board. My name is William Lyon. I'm the president of Santa Rosa Teachers Association. I represent over 900 educators in your neighbor to the south in the Santa Rosa City School District. I'm here tonight on behalf of Santa Rosa Teachers Association to support the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association and their fight for fair pay. I don't know if fight's the right word yet. I did hear the Superintendent Van Heuvel say that there's more money and that you've heard us and that you're ready to make a better offer. I appreciate that. I'll take your word for that, and I hope that the next offer comes in as acceptable. But if not, I think it's important that you know that we have solidarity that I've never seen. We've seen Red for Ed across the state and across the country and in our county in ways that are unprecedented. 2 years ago, when we were negotiating and we took a crappy offer, you couldn't say the word strike because don't go there. And now we've seen short, successful strikes all over the country, and including Sonoma County, that have moved the boss who said they got no money at all to making double-digit offers that make huge differences for teachers. So I want you to know the numbers that we're telling our members, and we had a couple dozen here tonight. You've heard a lot of numbers. The ones that I shared with them are Healdsburg teachers are paid 16% below the state average. And because of the finances, you guys get 124% of the state average per pupil coming in. Excuse me, 134. Thank you. That's an enormous gap between how much you're bringing in and how much you're giving teachers, which is why I take you at your word that you're going to make a better offer. If I'm right about that and I don't see you again, that's great. I appreciate it. If we're wrong about that and it is a fight, you're not picking a fight with 80 teachers in Healdsburg. You're picking a fight with 900 teachers in Santa Rosa and 3,000 teachers in Sonoma County and 300,000 teachers in the state of California. The solidarity level is unprecedented. So I hope that you're right. I expect that you're right. And if not, I think we had 5 local presidents here tonight. And we're not even at fact finding. Like, there must be a part of you going, man, this is overkill. Teachers, we're not even at fact finding, they're walking out. I think it's the new normal. I think it's going to be that way all over the county. We're 17% below the state average in Santa Rosa. You go down the list, everybody's either 17%, 15% below the state average, or they just got a big victory this year. So I'm rooting for the big victory for the teachers in Healdsburg. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Pat Sabo.
Good evening, Pat Sabo, retired teacher, Healdsburg Unified School District. I started in Healdsburg in 1976. I see on the board right now a former student, a former colleague, and the daughter-in-law of the chief negotiator when I was on the negotiating team. So unfortunately, things don't appear to be that much different when it comes to issues dealing with negotiations with this district. In the year 2000, I spoke before the school board, and we ended up going to impasse. I will tell you right now, at that impasse, the mediator gave us more than what we asked for. That might be the case here also. I've heard words coming from administrators up here acknowledging the great work that teachers do. I've heard the expression on the backs of teachers, on the brains of teachers. I've heard promises. These are promises very similar to the words that I heard beginning in 1977. It doesn't have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. So I'm going to leave you with the exact words that I used in the year 2000 when I addressed the school board. The same words. You have the opportunity. The ball is in your court. Do the right thing.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the closing of public comment, and we're moving to consent items.
Yep.
Okay. So moving to the approval of consent agenda items.
So moved.
everyone. Thank you for being here.
So we do have the donations that were made to the district this month for all to see, just as a thank you.
Yes, thank you to our generous community for these wonderful donations. So, okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Judy moved, Jamie seconded. No. It's vice versa. I'm sorry.
Moved and I seconded.
Thank you. Okay, so now moving on to 11.1, Student Learning, Elementary School Design Team.
That was fast. I'm sad people are leaving for this.
I know. Me too.
Me too. I was hoping I was going to get my report off.
Oh. Yeah, I was hoping. I think so. I'm really, really excited to be back presenting on this. And so it'll be quick, I think. Just next slide. So just wanted to give a quick overview and reminder of the elements of the that the design team came up with and is proposing for our combined elementary school. And those 6 components are project-based learning, the intense or rigorous Spanish instruction, a strong enrichment program, paraprofessional support in classes to support small group instruction, and then small class size. Debbie, next slide. So just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the next steps in this process, hopefully following what will be board approval tonight. And that is, we have PBL work scheduled to do a training for all of our K-5 elementary teachers, June 8th through 10th. That's here in the district. PBL Works is the formerly known as the Buck Institute. So they've done all of our PBL training for the charter teachers over the year. Also, in terms of thinking about a professional development plan, as was mentioned in public comment, really thinking about our paraprofessionals and the support that we're going to, and training that we'll provide to really do effective small group instruction in the classrooms. And then kind of at the site level, really thinking about, again, diving in once we have board approval to thinking about what the daily schedules are going to look like, what the Spanish schedule will look like at FMC, the specialists and the time of the switch and how PBL is going to work, enrichment PE, et cetera. And then, of course, diving into ELD and how, we as a district and looking at the external evaluation and how that's going to work and really diving into that over the next couple of months. And then at the district or administrative level, kind of the next steps are looking at the process for ending the charter, coming back to the board for that, going to Charter Governing Council, and then going through the process to apply for the CDS code for Fitch Mountain campus to make it a separate elementary school. And then, of course, looking at the budget considerations that may play a role in the decisions that are made in terms of how everything gets rolled out. And then finally, as we also have heard about in terms of communications to our current parent community, the wider community, as well as incoming parents, and sharing with them what the elementary program will look like next year and moving forward. So we have a draft of a new brochure, we have new pictures taken, we have communications plans both for this week, hopefully after tonight. We're thinking ahead positively with communications to, again, all of our current families to share with them the directions that we're going, and then also plans for outreach to preschools. I know that Jeff Franey, principal HES campus, and Alma Diaz, our parent outreach coordinator, are going to be at the preschool fair that is being hosted in the community on Saturday, but then also going out to the preschools to really share information about what kindergarten will look like and what our elementary school program will look like for next year and the years to come.
Erica, can you explain, or Chris, can you explain why we need to have a new CDS code?
Yeah, why don't we get through it and then we'll
Okay.
get into questions. So budget implications. There is a correction on budget implications. So there was a miscommunication. I think I just misunderstood with the recommendations that came from the design team. So what they are recommending First is Spanish teacher. An additional teacher will be needed at one of the campuses, so we'll have 2 full-time Spanish teachers. I'm really excited about that after hearing from Cynthia and knowing what she's doing at the junior high. We really have the capacity to build something really special here, I think, in Healdsburg in terms of language instruction in Spanish. That's a K-12 program. Really, probably most kids would take AP by 10th or 11th grade. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Paraprofessionals is where there was a little bit of confusion. So we are looking at a more significant dollar amount there, because the recommendation, if we are going to do instructional specialists, which is the recommendation for Fitch Mountain, the need would be for full-time pairs in each classroom, because core academic content would be happening all day because they rotate their classes back and forth between STEM and humanities. At HES, we would have part-time pairs for core academic instruction, and so it's a different need. And so it's a bigger dollar value than we had projected last year. And then small class size, most of the cost of that is already incurred, but we built in some extra just in case another teacher needed to be bought. But what we're projecting right now is pretty consistent with the recommendations coming from the design team. So that may or may not be an additional cost. So we're looking at a total additional cost, if this is the plan, of $660,000. I want to stress one thing as we're talking about this. This is what we want to do. Trustee Potmasil, who's not here, really kind of encouraged us to think big and to be bold with what we want. We heard loud and clear from parents and teachers, this is what they want. I will say, given the conversations we're having in the district, we may not have all that money next year to spend right away. I am dedicated to chipping away at it as quickly as possible and to making the changes that are needed, but I do want to say that there is some implications in terms of decisions that need to be made that may be a phase-in over multiple years to be able to realize the full extent of this plan. So, and I think that's okay. We can still move in that direction. So, yeah, so thank you to I'll say the thank you to elementary design team members. I know it was an intensive process. Many of you were at the town hall we had last week. They had a town hall with constituents and stakeholders and parents, and it was a lot of work to sift through all the needs and wants and desires from our community, but I think they did an excellent job of culling it down and really coming up with a plan. So I'm very grateful to everyone who worked on that. And you know, for us in the district, the work is only beginning. This is just a start. It's by no means an end. So we are very excited about it. Did we have a public comment about this? Okay, so we'll do public comments and then we can take questions from the board. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so our first public comment will come from Monica Smith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Monica Smith. I've been a member of the elementary design team. I also serve on the current Charter Governance Council. I'm an active member of the PTO in my 3rd year as co-chair of our annual spring fundraiser, Noche de Fiesta. And I'm also a full-time working parent of 2 very busy first graders. So I volunteer in my spare time.
Thank you, thank you.
Why am I telling you all of this? No, I'm not running for office. I want to emphasize how invested I am in our schools and how deeply I care about the quality of the education for not only for my children, but for all the children in our district. My boys are fraternal twins and they share a lot, but they are also so very different in many ways. School comes pretty easily to one of them. He scores at or above grade level on almost all of his benchmarks. My other son is Mr. Congeniality. He's imaginative, he's silly, he's gregarious. However, his abilities as a student are much the opposite of his brothers. He has ADHD. He currently has a 504 plan, and we're in the process of an IEP assessment with him. His benchmark scores are well below his grade level. My children are just a small sample of the cross-section of differing abilities you'll find in any classroom. Having a trained paraprofessional to assist the teacher with differentiation for the most vulnerable, the highest achieving, and all students in between is critical. Small class sizes will only further aid in meeting each child where they are. I hope the thoughtfully researched and carefully crafted plan presented by the elementary design team has been taken into serious consideration in preparing for your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Aaron Myers.
I prepared something, but so much information just came at me that I'm going to sort of have to adjust a little bit. I wanted to know about the third-party evaluation of the English language development program, and I think it's really important for us to have that information, and I think it's glaringly missing from the 6 elements that were agreed upon. The PBL, Spanish enrichment, paras, small class size, small group instruction, but I really think crafting a really amazing new English language development system and taking whatever recommendations are given after that evaluation and letting the community see the results very transparently of whatever happens with that is super important in this discussion. The other thing that just stood out to me was, I don't know if that's what the superintendent meant is, oh, well, if we have to pay our teachers a livable wage, then I'm not sure we can do all this successfully or right, or we don't have enough money to do it. And that is a really scary proposition to me. I feel already as a parent, I'm very happy to just get the information from Principal McGuire and the superintendent that we just heard. But I want so much more information as a parent. I am really wanting to see those proposed weekly schedules, what those look like for the kids. And I'm really wanting to make sure, which is what I was coming up here to say in the first place, that we are going to be really focusing on making sure that the English language development program does several of the things that the equity initiative has been asking for you guys to show us is going to be part of this transition. Those things are the English language development system must incorporate home language and culture. It must not interfere with content education. Content education must include language support for English language development students so that language barriers don't interfere with their learning. The district needs to come up with ways to continually assess the success of the new ELD program and really the whole unified elementary system, which are not limited to testing individual students or reclassification rates or test scores. Any valid assessment must include parameters for closing the opportunity gap and be evidenced by equitable outcomes. The new ELD plan must be robust and not resegregate and remarginalize our students the way AE did. It must contain a plan to address the needs of students who have been in AE for many years and have had less math, science, and social studies than their peers. And lastly, it must include a plan to build community between ELD students and their peers in recognition of the many years they have spent segregated from one another. And so I see elements of that in that sort of bullet list that we were just shown, which is good, but still as a parent, I'm really hoping for more information, and not because I came here and sat at this meeting. I think the information about this transition needs to flow more freely. And
I'm sorry, Erin, your time's up.
Okay.
But thank you so much. Next, we have Holly Fox.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Holly Fox. I am a mother of a kindergartner and a member of the elementary school design team. The district and community have engaged in a sometimes difficult and emotional process to get to tonight. I'm grateful to Superintendent Vandenhubel for speaking with such candor over the last several months about some of the mistakes that have been made in the past. And I'm especially grateful to the many community members who have shared their experiences, which have been incorporated into the Equity Action Plan and the elementary school site design proposal. This has been a lot of work, and we couldn't have done it without support from you, our administrators, teacher and staff, and our families. Tonight, you have an opportunity to set the course for an incredible elementary school program, an elementary school program that gives access to an innovative and effective education to all the students in our district, an elementary school program that our staff and our families are calling for. I urge you to approve the proposal and find the funding for all of these powerful changes. You've heard me say this before, but it's critical and I think it bears repeating. Whatever English language development approach is chosen in the next few months must not resegregate our students. We know our students learn best together and from each other. Let's make that happen.
Thank you, Holly. Rose McAllister.
Hi, I'm Rose McAllister. I'm the president of the Charter Governing Council, and I have 3 kids, 2 in 4th grade and 1 in kindergarten. And I basically just wanted to stand up and reiterate a couple of things that I've said before. The first one is that I'm very much in support of these items as they've been listed out, and I was thrilled to hear such excitement and support from the board at the last meeting. However, I don't want to be a cynic, but it seems like we're already teeing up that there's not going to be enough money to implement this the way that we've been discussing. And I think that it's really important that that it's thoughtful in terms of what as we proceed. So if we can't do everything, then are we doing the most important things first? Because one of my concerns is that on this list is this, or, you know, as part of the changes is having STEM and English, or having STEM and language, humanities be separate. And I see that one of the line items is the 9 new aides for FMC. And I am a strong believer that it's wonderful and important to have aides in all the classrooms, especially in the educational setting. But that's a big chunk of that money. And I'm not sure that that was one of the initial parts of this discussion. So, you know, I'm not going to say the how, that's your job and that's the job of the administration, but I would really just like to see that if this money is scaled back over the next couple of years and phased in, that the thoughtful, practical, student-centered things are the things that are paid for first and foremost. And also that all of the leadership stays involved in the practical aspects of this implementation and is well aware of what this looks like on a day-to-day basis. And that's part of the genesis of all the decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. And last but not least, Janine Biggin.
I had no intention to speak tonight. But I was struck with, I just love that this was called the Elementary Design Team, and kudos to the district and Erica for being a team leader and a coach, because I apply those kind of lessons through sports to all things. I just would like to, on behalf of the committee that I work with and coming to these meetings, encourage the school board to not lose sight of the fact that you need to communicate, communicate, communicate. Make sure you get your message out to your parents, to your teachers, to the students. These high school students want to know what's going on that we're here today, and to your community members. Part of what happened tonight is how this town works, and I was with Pat Sabo in 2000, and she said same thing, different decade to me today. Miss Pat, communicate to your community, not just in English. Communicate and reach out throughout the whole town, the entire town, the quiet side of our town. Recognize that that's part of who we are here to educate. HUSD is here to educate all students that live in Healdsburg. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
Okay, so questions from the board. You had a question about the CDS code. So it would be our desire, and Erica and I share this, to have HES and Fitch Mountain become 2 separate schools. Right now, I think it's incredibly confusing to have one elementary school with 2 campuses and co-principals. I think it was done with a specific intent in mind back when it originally occurred. And I think we're in a place when we can maybe get past that. And, you know, Erica has already lots of school spirit there, and they have chants and songs built around FMC, and so she's already thought out it'll be FME elementary. So it's it's a bureaucratic hoop, but nonetheless, I think it would make it easier for everyone to understand. We have HES and we have Fitch Mountain Elementary, and yes, they'll stay the same configuration. You go K2 and 3.5, but just kind of a cleanup, essentially. It's been incredibly confusing to explain to the community.
I'll say from buying
Yeah.
software and
Yeah.
curriculum adoptions, and as you know, in Windsor, the schools are separate. Bennett Valley, this is pretty common in our region that schools in the same town but by grade band are have separate CDS codes. While there's still very strong collaboration between the two, and I'll say I've been sitting in a lot of meetings with Erica and Jeff about how strongly they want to collaborate and possibly have a joint site council, governance council. So I know that not only the two administrators that we have there now, but just the way we see other schools that are configured this way, there continue to be a strong collaboration between the two campuses.
We really see it as a formality. As Aaron mentioned, we've talked about the having two governance councils for HES and Fitch, but having them always meet together so that we could really encourage that continued collaboration. The staff is tight. Erica and Jeff work well together. So our intent is to be highly collaborative between the campuses, but eliminate a little bit of the confusion in the community. That's really just a formality in terms of naming.
Okay,
Well,
thank
You're
you.
just historically going back to what we were.
Yeah,
Two elementary schools.
right. And
HES and
ultimately,
Fitch
it's your
Mountain.
decision. You're going to have to make that decision, obviously. So that was that question. Any other questions?
Is that part of the action?
No. Tonight's just simply blessing the direction that was given from the
Okay.
elementary design team, and then we are, you already approved PBL training for every teacher in June on consent, right? So
Right.
we're going to work towards an implementation plan with a lot of those details in the coming months. One of which, and it's the seventh pillar really, but it shouldn't, it goes without saying, because of course we're going to do this. ELD is a huge component of it. And we will actually have Dr. Nichols in March, we believe, come and present her
She will be here at the March 11th
Yeah.
meeting with the report.
and then we will be able to hear what she's got in terms of critiques and recommendations and commendations and how to move forward together. So that is something that we are emphasizing and going to put a lot of work into. So.
And note
Questions?
that meeting's a week early because of spring break. So we're on a tight timeline between this meeting and the next. It's a 3-week, not a 4-week. So yeah, Dr. Nichols confirmed today that she'll be flying up in order to present the report to you on the 11th.
Great, thank you.
Good.
Any other questions?
That was my question.
I move that we accept the elementary school design team.
So moved.
Second. Okay, great. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, thank you very much. And I just
Thank
want to
you
say,
all.
this is, in
Super
some ways, it's
exciting.
a shame that the crowd left.
Right.
This has
This
been.
deserves an applause.
Yeah, this deserves a big round of applause.
Super exciting.
It's been a heavy lift by the community. It hasn't been an easy conversation. There's a lot of reasons why what happened, and there were unintended consequences, obviously. I was struck in the HES library. They're doing, credit to Jeff Rainey and Greta Messick. They're doing an African-American read-in of elementary literature. And Greta had a book right there front and center on the library table that said, "Separate is never equal." And it isn't. And I'm so pleased that we're not going to be separate anymore at the elementary school. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, we can. You probably need to vote to have a break, but we can put the break here now. Is that?
Do we want to do reports first, though, because we're going to do them before the break, or just leave them where they are?
We can do reports post break if that suits the board. It's up to you all.
Who do we just have?
We
just have Alex, right?
And Hef. We have Hef in the room tonight.
Oh, good. Yay. Hef is in the
You want to do reports and then go do break? Okay.
Could we? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay, so adjustment to the agenda, we're going to do reports. So if we can have our HEF presentation, please.
We have Sally Mack in here, the HEF Executive Director.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy to be here tonight. A lot of exciting things going on, and I'll be very brief. In collaboration with the district, we are supporting the rollout of the Portrait of a Graduate, Sonoma County / Healdsburg version of that. And we are hosting a series of lunch and learns over the next 3 months. Our first one will be tomorrow at Healdsburg Elementary School at 11:30, and we still have some places open if people would like to join us. I have some flyers here that I will leave at the back table, but we have a series of 5 other luncheons over the next 3 months, 1 at Fitch Mountain, 2 at the junior high, and then 2 at the high school. And we will be highlighting the various attributes that the Portrait of a Graduate has rolled out and having community conversations, not only to highlight the great things that are already happening to support and encourage these attributes, but to hear from the community perhaps some things that maybe we've left out that we would like to add to these attributes that are specifically related to Healdsburg, but to also just talk about how we can support these attributes in the broader community to support our teachers and our administrators as they are encouraging our students to master these attributes. So I will leave this in the back. Please check out our Facebook page and register. We have Eventbrite registration set up for each of these lunch and learns. Our culinary students at the high school are going to be providing our lunches, and we're very excited about this opportunity, and we hope to have many more of these in the future around different topics. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Sally.
Fun idea. Fun.
Our student trustee report.
Well, Alex is coming up. I just want to give a quick score report. It is NCS playoff basketball time in Healdsburg. The girls unfortunately lost by 8 to St. Bernard's in Eureka. The boys are up 33-6 at half over Ignacio Valley. So, yeah.
Howdy. All right, I'll keep it short and sweet like always. And then I have some questions I like to pose to the board, but I'd like to start off by talking about the junior high. So when I was in 8th grade, Miss Murphy, it was her first year, and she started this program where her class built an electric vehicle completely from scratch. The only main piece they got completed was the chassis, so the main body of the car. And other than that, the students were tasked in one semester to complete the vehicle. And recently, I think it was this past month, her class went down to the Switch Lab in Sebastopol and then observed all the good things that are happening there and how you can buy an electric vehicle and build it on your own for just about $10,000. And so I think that's really amazing that the school supports actions like these. I know it inspired a lot of my colleagues to go into engineering, and it made me realize that maybe wiring cables all day isn't for me. So, yeah. Yeah. So a lot of things are happening at the high school right now. There was a Key Club fundraiser that broke a record of over $600 within just 20 plates of cookies. The Model United Nations Club, which is on today's agenda, is going to Berkeley in about 20 days or 21 days, one of those. And there's a fundraiser this Friday. There was a fundraiser last Friday, but it wasn't that successful. So if you would like to come and support the Model United Nations, you can always buy some cookies in the morning this Friday. This week is FFA week, so Miss Hunt's and Miss Nielsen's class are hosting an event every lunch this week. And that builds a lot of community spirit. Approximately 1/3 of the school population at the high school is enrolled in FFA or in an ag class. The juniors just finished their internships, and the internships are a really powerful way to show people all the possibilities when it comes to their future paths in life. I know my internship last year was really inspiring. I was tasked with being an intern at the law library, which inspired me to, pursue law. And my mentor wrote me a letter of recommendation for my college. So it's not like we just stopped communicating. I was there last month for a dinner. And I know we're just going to keep being involved with one another. And on exciting news, the Healdsburg High School is working with a program for a service project over the summer to go to Nicaragua and build an education facility from July 11th to the 22nd. And Wilson and I have been talking about going. And it's funny because July 11th is my birthday, so it'd be a great way to practice my Spanish skills that Healdsburg High has taught me and help the community.
Yeah.
And any questions so far?
No, Nicaragua is a whole different kind of Spanish, too. It'd be good.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, every country you go, even every state you go in Mexico or whatever.
That's awesome.
Part, it's vastly different. But I'll ask Mr. Ruiz for tips. But I wanted to talk to the board about sort of boosting civic engagement with the school population. So I know especially with this walkout, a lot of questions are being raised, and there's a lot of misinformation and misguided emotions from the school population to the administration. So maybe that's on me, or maybe it's on all of us. And I want to get your advice to be more efficient in translating information. So if you have any tips, please let me know.
One thing that I know Mr. Halliday has done in the past, and maybe it's time to resurrect, and actually we've talked about a number of different iterations of it, is having, I don't know what we called it, but it was like a student ambassador meeting, basically. So for instance, when I was principal at the high school, we had a representative from every fourth period class come out once every 3 or 4 months, and round robin, ask admin questions. Admin would have some things to talk to the kids about, either soliciting feedback or just informing, and then they'd go back and communicate back to their classmates. So that's an option. We've actually talked about creating basically an equity committee within the high school, made up of students, to talk about how we can shift the culture at Healdsburg High to be more defined by what the majority of our students are, Latino culture. What are the wants and needs of the kids, and how would they change traditions and practices and everything we do to suit their identity and really empower them and support them that way. So that's an idea we've talked about a little bit. So different ideas that way. And you could certainly play a part in both.
Yeah, so that's the thing, though. A lot of students don't realize they want change until they get informed, and the difficult part is they're not informed. So I was hoping that one of you guys, or Mr. Holliday, or someone high in the administration level in the district could once a month participate with about 3 members from each class for about roughly half a day, just to go through the district's information. So Mr. Holliday, I believe it was Mr. Holliday, used to do this, forgot what it was called, but something about coffee.
Coffee with the principal.
That event. But if we could do that with students, about 3 or 4, just a handful per each class, so it'd be easier.
You're talking about seniors, freshmen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the biggest issues are coming from the high school, and it's the most populated campus, and I think it'd be easier to.
And you're obviously more
information that
socially
way.
engaged, and I think it's a good idea. I don't know time wise if you want to take a whole day or half day, but I love the idea of opening more communication. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think we had a very eloquent high school population today, and younger grades too. But I think they're looking for an opportunity to be involved, and I think with the right information, or with accurate information, I think it would make their.
I mean, these guys are going to vote in a few years.
What's that?
They're going to vote in a few years. I think they should be educated.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And, I think it's important for them to understand how to find the truth, and how to distinguish between hype and what's real, and be willing
Mob
to take
mentality.
the time to find that out. And so I would like to see us push this forward sooner. I mean, maybe it could be something even in the next month. We could have our inaugural maybe lunch with the principal or something, if they could come prepared and have those conversations. I would like to see it happen,
Great.
rather than maybe someday, but maybe March.
Yeah.
And thank you for
great questions,
requesting
Alex.
it.
Love it. Yeah.
It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Good stuff.
Maybe you could put a suggestion together for us, and we could
Okay.
say yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
great.
Talk to me and Mr. Halliday, and maybe we can get something off really soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
That'd be great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Questions,
thanks, Alex.
Alex? Thank you.
Hey, any college news? Very nicely done. Good job.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Board of Trustees
Great.
report.
I'm going to pass.
I got to go to the high school on Friday, and it's always a pleasure to go tour the schools, and it was a real pleasure. I want to please thank the teachers in the classes that we visited, and I love talking to the kids. It has such a nice feeling.
And I'll just thank those that are in the audience that were part of the portrait of a graduate discussion that we had last week. That was
Yes, it was very nice.
Appreciate your time. That was great. Good to
Yeah.
get that kick started.
Great practice. I thought it was really important for us moving forward as a district, just having parents sitting with principals and with trustees to have a conversation about what's good and what could be in our schools. So I thought it was very powerful. Yeah.
And I attended the Healdsburg High School ELAC meeting, and it was well attended. I was excited to see who was there. And I also want to just take this time to commend Lisbeth Perez and Mari Cervantes for their advocacy of really trying, getting parents involved and supporting them. I also want to thank Lisbeth Perez and Marisela Cervantes and Leticia Romero for joining me. Seems like so long ago.
So like 2 days ago.
On Tuesday, which is just yesterday, it seems like so long ago because it's been so busy. Yesterday, the Sonoma County Office of Education and Migrant Education hosted a Parent Leadership Institute in Spanish, and there were about 150 families there from all of Sonoma County, and the three of them shared their story of their parent involvement, their parent engagement here in Healdsburg, and the title of the presentation was The Power of Parents. And so I just want to thank them for sharing their story and for motivating and inspiring a large group of Spanish-speaking parents in our community to become involved in their school settings. And as a result of their advocacy, I think we are celebrating today the configuration of the elementary schools. So I just want to thank them for their advocacy and their support of that, and also just their work and the ELAC, DLAC, and also yesterday at the Parent Leadership Institute. Thank you. Mil gracias.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to echo that, and Lisa and Mari specifically have been very instrumental in getting new leadership and new parents involved in all of our ELACs. And how many went yesterday? Like 8 or 9? Yeah, and for years it's not been very many. Lisa and Mari and maybe a few others. So great leadership cultivation happening, and it's because of their leadership. So it's been great.
Yeah, thank you. Gracias. Okay, so we are going to take a 10-minute break. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right? Do I have to do this?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So
10-minute break.
Back at 5 till ish.
Okay. 2021.
So we have been, the calendar start and end date is negotiated with with HADA. And so we've talked to them preliminarily. We model this as we typically do on Santa Rosa's calendar because the vast majority of districts in Sonoma County follow Santa Rosa City, not exactly, but as close as possible due to the fact that most of our employees have kids that are in that district or in a district that models it on their calendar. So we are looking at an early start for next year. We would have the first day of school, if this calendar holds, on August 12th. And if you can go to June, we end on June 3rd with June 4th for graduation. So the big change in this calendar that I do want to highlight, we are getting recommendations from the state to build in emergency days or essentially days that are makeup days for lost instructional days, primarily for smoke days or if there's a PSPS, power shut off. And so we've built in 3. Districts are doing between 3 and 5. The reason I did 3, partially we have to negotiate it, partially we are, not that we are immune from a PSPS, but Healdsburg has its own power utility. And so power never went out in Healdsburg except actually during the active fire that was in our community. Whereas Windsor, Santa Rosa, and other parts of the county did lose power because they're PG&E customers. So we have 3 makeup days. Bear with me here. It's a little complicated. First, we actually have 1 more instructional day than most school districts than is required by law. So automatically off the top, we have an extra day that doesn't have to be made up. So we have 1 there. And then we built in January 4th, which is the day after winter break. That is typically a day when we do professional development. We would plan for professional development in our calendar, knowing that if there was something in the fall that came up, we would flip that day to be an instructional day. So teachers will already be here. Our classified staff are already back, and we'd simply just have students come instead of doing a PD day. And then finally, we added a 3rd day, and this is more in line with what other districts are doing. Adding what would be school holidays that, if needed later in the year, could become an actual makeup day. So for instance, Windsor did kind of a drastic calendar where they have done 2 weeks of spring break, and the second week is 5 days of makeup days. So we did 1 day in April. It's April 5th. It's the day after Easter, so it could be, if not needed as a makeup day, a nice travel day for families traveling to see or going wherever they go for Easter. So once again, if there was the need, we would flip that day to be a student day, and we'd notify families well in advance. So we have 3 makeup days. Because of that April makeup day, that drives our calendar a little earlier in August. But it is very close to how we've had our calendar the last few years. It just has to do with how the dates fall. It's a little tough coming off a leap year. It makes it much different next year than it was this year. So we are still discussing with the union. There may be some changes that they propose, but we would bring it back to you all for approval next month. Any questions?
I think Windsor also has some possible later graduation, later end of school.
Yeah, into June.
days.
It goes farther into June as a result. I'm a little hesitant to go farther into June on the second semester. So truthfully, as a high school educator, when we moved to, so 10 years ago, we used to have high school finals 2 weeks after winter vacation, which makes absolutely no sense instructionally, right? But they wanted semesters to be balanced, the same number of days in the semester. That makes sense, right? But to do that, we really would have to be starting right at the end of July. And so as is, I think it's 12 or 13 days difference between the semesters. And that's why I don't want to push the second semester to be longer,
Right.
Because then it just creates the semesters to be even more out of whack. So this is where we're at. Or we could go back to finals after Christmas break, which again,
No,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to avoid. Yeah.
Alex, you want to weigh in on that?
No, I'm already going to fail calculus, so I wouldn't want to make it harder for students next year to fail calculus. I mean, easier for students to fail calculus.
You'll pull through.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Kincaid Fire update.
So Debbie and I are going to both talk to this, but we wanted to go over the cost of the Kincaid fire and officially share the news that we received last week around fire compensation. So we've talked about it a little bit. Summary of events. Last year, obviously, we had the Kincaid fire in the fall. It was in 2019. That's a typo. We're stuck in 2020 paradigm in our minds. But we had a very active part of it. Our transportation, we've already honored our transportation crew who helped evacuate citizens. Our food service, IT, mobilized rapidly. Actually during fire, I actively worked the whole time remotely, listening in on community updates, talking with staff, trying to plan ahead for when it might be over and we could get back in and what we needed to do. We worked with RESIG, the Redwood Empire Schools Insurance Group. We had an emergency board meeting as soon as we were allowed back in Healdsburg. You remember that morning when we gathered and you gave emergency powers to us to move quickly to secure contracts to clean up. RESIG worked on our behalf to hire the vendors, and we learned RESIG will no longer reimburse our expenses for fire cleanup because we now have a $5 million deductible on our insurance policy, and that's a carryover from 2017 when the Tubbs fire occurred. All school districts went from a $3,500 deductible to a $5 million deductible. So very quickly, we had a large bill to pay of $600. Well, you'll see in the next slide. So cleanup, we worked with RESIG. All sites were surveyed. We did interior and exterior cleaning, removing ash in all our classrooms, gyms, air filters. Even the synthetic track had to have a special cleanup, as did the turf, and clean the ducts thoroughly with specialized machines. And it had to happen rapidly. It happened, for us to open school. I think they did it all in 3 days. So here's our expenses on the cleanup itself: $647,000, 229 cents. One of Debbie Odeto's first jobs as the new director of maintenance operations was to attend the California Office of Emergency Services seminar, hear about their application process for possible reimbursement, and do the application. And then she interviewed with the folks there. And within a week of her interview, they had sent us a letter, which was just last week, saying that we will be reimbursed at 85% this year at some point. So it's around $530,000 coming back to help cover those costs. If you go back to that last slide, Debbie, an additional loss that we have to project currently is because of properties that were burned in the fire. They are estimating over the next 2 years per year $440,000 in lost tax revenue. We will still have a net gain in tax revenue. It just will grow more slowly than it would have if the fire had not occurred. So we've penciled that in into our budgets, obviously. So this is just a breakdown of the Cal OES process. So we will get the first reimbursement of $469,000, and then once they've completely closed out our project, they'll give us an administration fee, a direct cost in terms of admin for $62,000. So for the total of $531,000. FEMA. So there is additional coverage that FEMA offers for things that were not eligible to be covered by Cal OES. Such as spoiled food. What else is included in the FEMA application, Debbie? And labor that we had to pay for with our people. So we've submitted, or we're going to be submitting $21,880 for coverage, and if approved, FEMA will pay 75% of that cost. That's not due till March 9th, so we don't know yet if that will come back in, but that again is, while a smaller amount, still significant, and we hope to recover it. So any questions on the lost revenue, the expenses, or any of the reimbursements on the Kincaid fire? Okay, just wanted to make sure you had a clear understanding of it all. And I do want to give kudos to Debbie because she's done a huge lift on that and done it quite effectively. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the 2018-2019 audit report.
You have on your blotters there the 18-19 audit report, which is required. It's a process that goes on all year long. The auditors go out to sites. They audit, different sites each year, but they audit different things at the site. They audit everything in the district office. Today is just for you to accept the audit. It's been sent to Sonoma County Office of Education to be certified. We have 4 findings in the audit. It's actually a pretty clean audit. And next month I'll come to you with the corrections for the audit findings for approval.
So do we have a motion to, oh, it's just a report, so we don't need to accept it today.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Pat myself on the back, though. I actually read the audit report. And I didn't understand a lot of it, but I read it.
Okay, moving on to 11.2D, Comprehensive School Safety Plan.
So this is actually one of our audit findings from last year was not getting this approved in time because it was a new requirement to have fire and police sign off on it. We just missed timeline. This year we'll make the timeline, so the correction has been had. But we are excited to bring this to you. Fire and police have signed off, and all our district has, we've created emergency systems for every campus, encompassing every employee and what would happen in certain situations. So it is an enormous document, and Debbie actually, I think, spent a weekend day scanning it all, so it's now available electronically for anybody who looks. But so pleased to bring this before you. And this is an action item. Any questions I can answer? Or any, yeah.
I move that we accept the Comprehensive School Safety Plan with a commendation. It's huge.
Yes, it is.
And very thorough.
Yep.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A proposal from Daniel O. Davis, Inc. for the removal of portables.
Okay, this proposal is to remove 3 of the portables on the Fitch Mountain campus. They're out by the preschool. They're currently not being used, and they're very old and not up to code. So it's to remove them, and they'll be putting in a student garden and a new play area for the children.
Okay.
Very nice.
That's very nice.
So do you have a motion to approve the proposal from Daniel O. Davis Incorporated?
So moved.
Second it.
Oh, give it to Alex.
All in favor?
Aye. I might
Motion
make a
carries.
recommendation that there might be someone in the audience that would like to be a part of the Fitch Mountain Garden. Anybody with the last name Kiff? I'm proposing that there might be someone in the audience that would like to be a part of the garden come after these trailers are removed. I don't know, just throwing it out there, since you are still here to hear all the business. I think you should get a plaque with your name on it. Sorry.
Okay, moving on to fee proposal from QKA for the Healdsburg High School new gym and locker project.
Okay, this is the proposal for QKA to do the designing for the current locker room to become a conditioning room.
So this is 2 years down the road. So this is the beginning of the design phase. So the current girls' locker room, actually it's split right now. We built a wall down the middle of it. So it's half boys, half girls. We are constructing a new girls' locker room at the high school, remodeling the boys' locker room. So next year they'll be in, and we can begin design, and then in a year or two, building out a conditioning room there in the current girls' locker room. Or the current co-ed locker room, which sounds terrible to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new gym and the new locker rooms will be online in the August?
Hopefully by September, yeah.
Wow, great.
And because, I mean, one blessing of not having a lot of rain is we're so far
having a lot
on
of
time.
work.
Yeah.
So can we have the board can have a tour of
Absolutely,
that?
yeah.
That would be great.
Yep.
Because I'd like to see it now that the roof is on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure. We can arrange for that.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve a fee proposal from Quattrochi Quack Architects for the conversion, of the Healdsburg High School girls' locker room?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
And the next proposal is for QKA again, and this one is for the improvement of the fields at the Healdsburg High School.
Could you elaborate on what that entails? I mean, what are we talking about?
So we,
That's this.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. After we do the locker room to conditioning room, the next phase in our bond dollars was to redo the athletic fields at the high school. And we had earmarked not enough money to do synthetic turf there, but to regrade, put in better drainage, new irrigation, a grass infield on the baseball field, and then some improvements to the softball field as well. So it's not going to be like a $17 million giant synthetic turf field, but their fields, it's a great space. It's somewhat usable now, but it's got a lot of limitations because of time and original design, and so we're cleaning it up. Yeah.
And this goes in after the junior high?
Junior high gym first, girls' locker room conversion to a conditioning room, and then maybe at the same time we can do the fields actually, because they're completely separate projects. But
And
yeah,
then we
we'll
do
see.
the theater.
And then we talk about the theater. Yeah.
No, then we do the theater. We don't talk about it.
Okay.
Any other
Next one,
questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the fee proposal from QKA for the Healdsburg High School Field Improvements Project?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Resolution number 2020 authorizing the issuance and sale of the general obligation bonds, election of 2016 Series C.
Yes. So we are going out about a year earlier than originally planned on a bond sale. So that's what this is for. This will be the last round of bonds that we passed as part of Measure D in 2016. And we'll finish out all of our projects, including hopefully the theater. The reason we are going out early is that currently interest rates in the bond market are at historic lows, unprecedented lows. And Greg Isom, who is our bond advisor, called me and said, it is time for you to go, because if we go now, we can save the taxpayers money, even though it's early. So you're going to be paying on the bonds longer, but we're going to get such a lower interest rate that it will more than make up. And to the tune of hopefully millions of dollars. And if that's the case, we'll issue a press release to let the voters know, but we for sure will come in under than if we go for a year from now. There's a lot of unknowns. Obviously, presidential elections can play a role, as well as the fact that the state is got a bond measure on the ballot. And when the state bonds, if they get approved, which it's polling like it will, they will flood the market and interest rates will not be as friendly to us sellers. So
where does this money go?
So we put it in an account and it accrues interest if we're not using it. And then we are to use the money, obviously on all the just on the projects that were identified as part of the bond. So, yeah.
And we already have money to pay for, we've already sold the bonds to pay for the locker room, girls' locker room.
Some of it, not all of it. So we actually needed an extra funding source to be able to pull it off too. We also are in favor, or not in favor, but and we had options. We could have done a bridge loan or other ways to do that. But we also have $7 million or so that is going to come back from the state, and we believe 21, 22 in bond matching funds. You remember way back to 2014, it was promised to us, and it takes a long time to get money. But we will get that money. And, while we haven't made a formal recommendation yet, I think we will all come forward saying, let's earmark that money for elementary schools, because we don't have bonds for elementary schools and haven't done any. And, obviously HES is an aging campus. And we may choose to put a portion into some projects at the high school or the junior high, but we do need to make sure we have a fund for major improvements that need to happen at the elementary as they age. So,
but we also are short money.
We also will be short. So you're going to hear about that when the junior high gym project comes online. There's been some scope creep. That is necessity.
Right.
So we were spending more than we had anticipated, and cost escalation. While we built healthy escalation into our projects, nobody could have factored in the crazy cost of construction post-fire in Sonoma County. And so things are simply just more expensive than we had anticipated. So, but we're going to talk about it all. Yeah.
No,
a lot to come.
I just want to be really careful, because when we went out for this bond, we promised the community certain things.
Yep.
And we
Agreed.
need to deliver on them.
Yep.
That includes the theater.
Any other questions? This is a resolution.
So
it's a
roll call vote.
So we
We need a motion and a second?
Yeah. So do we have a motion to adopt resolution number 20-20?
I thought we did that. Moved.
A second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Yeah, sure.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Next, we have the contract with arborist fee proposal from Hodgson and Sons Tree Care.
The district hired an arborist to come in and evaluate all the trees. We have a lot of overgrown trees and dead trees. And this proposal is to prune on all the campuses, and it also includes the removal of 5 trees. But maintenance department feels that they can maintain them once we have a major pruning done, that we could do it in-house as far as keeping them up.
One tree in the grove will be removed, unfortunately. And you can kind of see which one it is at the high school.
The one that's dying?
Yeah, it's a hazard. If we
When
don't
is
get
it
it
supposed
out.
to be removed?
Do you know the dates when they're going to be removing?
I think they're probably going to try to do this during spring break.
Yeah. So.
And what was the estimated cost? I'm sorry.
$38,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Do I have a motion to approve the contract with the arborist for the arborist fee proposal?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Information and questions from governing board members?
No?
No, just the ELD's coming. That's good to hear.
Yep.
Good to know.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that'll be something provided before the meeting in March.
March
Yes?
4th.
Okay.
So will that
Oh, no.
include, it'll be in the packet?
Yep.
Because I won't be here for that meeting. I want to read it.
Great. That's my thing I
Okay,
had.
good.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's also important to note that that meeting will be at the high school. It won't be here.
oh, thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
good
that's
to know.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank
it's only
you.
the second
Oh, yeah.
Wednesday, so we couldn't get.
Thank you for that reminder. Okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.